I thought I'd cook us some breakfast.
Okay.
While we catch up, because there is so much to catch up on.
I've seen you for ages.
I know, because I keep cancelling because I'm really bad with everything. I'm just too busy. But I'm so excited because there's so many changes going on, Paula. And like I said, when I invited you onto the Hollows, you are one of those amazing people that, and there's very few people that I meet that actually do kind of take me away in the sense of who you are, your morality, your professionalism, your accomplishments, and obviously recent changes.
Ooh.
I'm really excited to hear the freedom it's brought. But most of all, we need to cook breakfast. So, what do you fancy?
I'm okay with just toast.
Just toast? Don't want bacon, egg?
No.
Right, well, I'm going to have a bacon butty, and I'm sure Rudy will, so I'll put the oven on. Okay, so obviously we've met a few times through work.
Yes.
But I know you were a social worker. But where did that come from? What made you become a social worker?
I don't know. So if you ask my mum and dad, my mum would say that when I was very little and they asked me what I wanted to be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
But I think that they would tell you I was always interested in people. And I guess my mum and dad's language would probably be I would always be interested in people who were a little bit outside. So the child that no one spoke to.
Yeah.
Or the person that didn't really have any friends. I would seem to be the person that took them under my wing. So I think they got a sense from early on that I would be in the caring professions. And my science teacher, when I was at primary school, who I just adored, I thought he was absolutely incredible. I said to him one day, because I got a notion at one point that perhaps I'd like to be a primary school teacher. And I remember saying to him, and perhaps he was having a bad day, say, I think I want to be a primary school teacher like you. And his response to me was, don't do it. It's a shit job.
Yeah.
And it put me off. And I'm old enough that when I was at school, we had careers advisors.
Yep.
So got sent to go and see the careers advisor, and they put,
What age was that?
So I'd have been 15 maybe.
Yeah.
And they do it was quite a formulaic tick box thing of what do you like.
It's not changed.
And it churned out a computer printout, and this careers advisor said to me, oh, you should be a social worker. I was like, I'm not really sure I know what that is. And at school I was doing kind of random exams. I've always loved English and English lit. And then I decided to do economics and Spanish.
Oh God, yeah, okay.
Which are really kind of critical for being a social worker.
Yeah, but also that's a little bit of you in the sense that economics is a business side.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting, okay.
Yeah, so I was interested where that came from. And so I went to college. I was the first person in my family that had been to college.
Oh wow, so what did mum and dad do then?
So my mum started as an insurance broker, and when she had me, I think following that she had quite severe postnatal depression, but it almost wasn't a thing then.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she had my brother 5 years later, and he had really bad jaundice when he was born, so he was quite poorly and in hospital for a period of time.
Oh.
And again, I think following that, she had quite severe postnatal depression. And she went to work one day after my brother had been born, and she'd been off for a period of time. And she used to walk down the road where my mum and dad lived, where she still lives. And she would get the bus and go to work. And she walked down the road, and she described to us that she just stopped at the end of the road and just thought, I can't do this. And she walked back home. And she never went back to work again, and she was quite severely agoraphobic then for a few years.
Yeah.
And was really quite bad when I was at university. Never came out of the house. And I guess it would be what people describe now as a severe nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, very severely agoraphobic.
And then, yes, because she'd associated going out with the negative feelings that she had. Oh, sorry. So
And what transpired much later down the line, because my family are not a family of talkers. I am, bizarrely, but my family are not a family of talkers, was that there was actually some really uncomfortable behaviour in work from her boss, her male boss. And I think it just all culminated in, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, isn't it, the things that families don't talk about, that you don't know about your parents, really.
Yeah, and I think it's not even just families, I think it's everybody. And especially being, you know, we said this last week actually, the British stiff upper lip, as it were, and don't say this and don't say that. And I think now, you know, the Me Too movement in America, the fact that we are more of a global society has probably helped. And the reason you are a talker, do you think that's been maybe part of your healing process?
Yeah, definitely. And I think when I started my social work degree, a lot of my peers on my course were considerably older than me. So I was quite a naive kind of 18-year-old when I started at uni.
Everyone is 18.
Yeah, but I'd had quite a sheltered upbringing, I suppose, in some respects. And I joined people who I think had probably always known they wanted to be a social worker. And I remember the first day the course introducing themselves. One woman, I always remember her saying, you know, I've been divorced 3 times. And I've kind of lived life. And then somebody talking about kind of severe domestic abuse that they'd experienced and lived through. And you know, when you think, ooh, I don't know anything about life, really. So I think there was quite a lot of learning at uni that I grew up very quickly doing that, because as part of my course, you went on placements. So from the first year, I was doing social work placements, which, you know, teaches you a lot, really. But I guess really reaffirmed for me that that's what I wanted to do. And I knew I always wanted to work with children, and I always wanted to work in child protection, which for most people is, you know, why do you want to do that? It's kind of the real hard end of social work, but I knew that I wanted to do that.
Why do you think that was? Because you can make a bigger impact, or?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, you know, and I'm careful not to disrespect my family. I think that growing up as a child, I wasn't always a happy child. And I think there was something about recognising that children need to be given the best chances that they can to really flourish and grow. And I think I wanted that opportunity to help create the best outcomes that we possibly can for children, recognising that not every parent is fully equipped to be the best parent that they might want to be. And that's not always through any kind of malicious intent, but really just to kind of support and equip people to live their lives in the best way that they can, really.
Yeah, and do you think that's down to, was there somebody, maybe when Mum was going through this patch where she was really struggling, was there somebody who was maybe there for you in that way?
I had a very strong nan.
Okay.
So my mum's mum.
Okay.
And my mum's dad, my granddad, who we always call Gangan, because I couldn't say granddad when I was little, so I used to call him Gangan.
I call my mum Gran Gran.
So they were really, really strong people in my life, really kind of grounding forces, and we would spend quite a bit of time with them, and they were really important. And I had some very, very good, strong women primary school teachers who I think gave me a sense of, I guess, ambition and a sense of what I could achieve and what I could do.
Well, is that through results, or is that through, you know, other things like student councils, or?
I was on the...
Sorry, the flies are bad today.
I was on the school magazine.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that opportunity. And my English teacher asked me to be on the school magazine, and then very quickly asked me to be editor. And the first time we produced the first issue of the school magazine where I was identified as the editor.
Have you still got that copy?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Yes. And I had a little go at acting, which I discovered I hated. So my first kind of acting experience at school was as the narrator.
Brilliant.
And I often found that I was put into that position. And I think I also did a major acting role as a tree, where I literally stood there and was the tree. So it didn't require huge acting ability.
But necessary.
But they're all great experiences, aren't they?
Sorry. I put on too high, he's laughing at me outside. This is my cooking skill, Paula. I get overly enamoured with conversation that I don't actually cook very well, which in itself is entertaining for everyone else. Good job you didn't want bacon, unless you like it burnt. Just give it a turn over. I think from what you're saying there, though, clearly it shows early on in primary school, people, your teachers and what have you, clearly knew that you had this ability to obviously editor, lead, you had the quality that you could edit other people's work, so that's attention to detail. And I think, maybe through going through mum having that bout, unfortunately, after giving birth, which, I did definitely with Bella. I was 21 with Bella. And then within 6 months was a single parent. So although, we don't want people to go through these life lessons, actually it can also feed into you as a person and make you that person that then wants to help. And so really, the world goes round by people like you who've maybe been through those experiences, who then therefore have this drive then to say, no, you can, even if you do go through a negative experience, you can come out of it the other side. And like you're saying, children, you've been through this negative experience, but I'm going to be that anchor that your parent can't be right now.
There's something about resilience, isn't there? And I think that's what really interests me now in some of the work that I do with women, particularly, is around how we identify our sources of resilience. Because I think particularly for women, and I know it's a bit of a sweeping generalisation, that we often think we're far less resilient than we are. And actually, when you look at some of the things you've achieved and you've done, you realise that you've really drawn on very untapped resources. So I think as a child, and I'm really interested in the kind of whole nature-nurture debate about, is it there initially, or do people help cultivate that? And I think probably there's a mix.
Yeah.
But I think I was a very resilient child, and I'm quite a resilient adult. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think that my mum and dad helped engender that in me.
What was it about then that helped you become resilient?
I think some of that independence. So I was talking to some friends last night about how when we were kids, particularly in the summer holidays, your mum and dad kind of threw you out the front door and said, go and play. And we would disappear off. And I grew up in a street where there were no girls.
Brilliant.
So I kind of played out with 12 boys who, didn't allow me any of that kind of young girl of, I don't like spiders, or I don't want to do that. Again, kind of sweeping generalisations, but it was very rough and tumble.
Yeah.
But we would disappear off. We would come back for some food at lunchtime.
Yeah,
and then
even if you could be bothered.
Yeah, and then we would disappear off again. And we were saying we always knew what time you had to be back for tea.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't have a watch, you didn't have an iPhone.
You've got to be your stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the sun setting.
Yeah.
The street lights coming on.
Yeah. And at the back of my mum and dad's is fields and woods. And we would go and do rope swings.
Yeah, boy stuff.
Play near the ponds and stuff that people would be horrified about now, and roll down the grass and
covered in dog poo.
Yeah, and have the best of times.
Yes.
And I think some of that, the fact that I guess in my mum and dad's times, they didn't have any sense of, I suppose, some of the horrors of the world that we're more attuned to now. So my mum and dad think that there might be someone lurking in the wood that would cause me some harm. They just go out and play and enjoy yourself and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
And we did that, and I think that independence that they gave me has stood me in really good stead, because I'm very self-reliant.
Yeah.
I'm very good with my own company.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped me as well.
Yeah, and I think, is there an element of kind of going back to that safety bit now? Because, I mean, it's been on the news this morning about, you know, refugees, and it's so common at the moment, conversations about, you know, different things going on, and the world's actually a really negative place at the minute. You know, you've got the Ukraine war, and actually that safety aspect and that fear that generic Joe public have now of allowing children to be children and go out, what has changed? Why is it so different now?
I think it's easy probably to say that social media hasn't helped.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that children and adults are more aware of, they're made more aware of the dangers.
Yes.
And I think there's not always a balance.
Yeah.
So I think that people's attention is drawn to the things that are difficult in the world at the minute.
Yeah.
And there's less of a balanced approach to that.
Yep.
So my mum and dad would never have had access to a mobile phone. My mum has a mobile phone now, and will go on social media and read stuff that she finds upsetting.
Yep.
But I think people are almost drawn to wanting to see some of that stuff. And I probably think that, you know, the news at times can be quite salacious and
Yep.
present stuff without, sometimes we don't always get presented with the nice things that are going on in the world.
No.
And I you know, maybe that's not newsworthy, but I think that people are starting to make a more, or a lot of my friends I talk to are making a more active choice to not go down the doom scrolling.
And I think that's where, you know, I wanted to do this and have those conversations, honest conversations with real people like you. Yeah, so when it comes to thinking about the changes in the world now, what is different? And like you're saying about social media and the fact that people are just drawn to watching negative things and being part of that negativity. I mean, I see it with mum. She'll come here and she'll be, oh, have you seen this march that's going on? I mean, she's a 50-year-old. No, she's not. She's a 60-year-old woman. And she's drawn to watching it, so I totally get that path. And what is it? Is it that whole thing of them? So you see people want to or aspire to something or have something interesting in their life, like the soap effect. So people watch soaps because they want to know that other people are going through similar things they're going to make them feel better about their lives. Is it something to do with that, or is it just drama, that people are just naturally drawn to drama?
I think there is an element of drama. I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about, I can never say this word, comparisonitis.
Okay.
So people spending too much time worrying what everyone else is doing and what everyone else has got, and thinking that they've not got enough of that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting and ironic, given what we're doing now, that people will spend a lot of time on social media looking at other people's houses, other people's lives.
Like I do. I'm obsessed with it. Looking at what other people have.
I do. And I guess it's how you get a happy medium with, I'm genuinely interested in what someone else does and what they've got.
Yeah.
Because I want to learn, or I want to buy some things for my house.
Yeah.
Without getting completely obsessed with theirs is better.
Yes.
And it's how you get that fine line between, oh, you know, I really like that light that you've got, and I'd love to ask you about it.
Yeah.
And not and not the response be, I like that, like, why has she got that and why haven't I got one
and
of
then
those?
negative association.
Yeah.
Do you think that anything like Love Island's got anything to do with it? Because it's thing I won't watch Love Island.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, and like the Big Brother effect.
Yeah.
Where you're literally, and I understand from a kind of a social study aspect, but for me, I just don't understand. It doesn't feed my brain.
No, I mean, it doesn't appeal to me. I guess everybody's different. I suppose for some people it's real escapism.
I've got friends who love it, yeah.
So I've got a friend and every year she says, I'm not going to watch Love Island, for example.
Yeah.
Because she said I just lose hours of my life. And then I'll ring her and speak to her and she says, oh, I'm watching Love Island. I said, I thought you weren't going to do it. She said, oh, I know, I just got carried away. But I love, I love watching things like The Big Bang Theory when that was on.
I like Big Bang Theory, yeah.
So, I'll happily watch things that I can just disappear into. So I guess it's each to your own, isn't it? And whatever floats your boat. I think for me, there's a real importance for me to have a balance in my life of things that bring me joy. And that can be really simple. Like, went for a walk last night with 2 friends and we talked about the whole range of kind of, menopause, relationships, how you meet people, how you determine friendships, what happens if a friendship feels like it's not a friendship anymore, and how do you make those decisions. And I think that brought me real joy last night. There was a real richness in just spending time with those people.
And being present.
Yeah, and it's something about how you find that balance, isn't there? Because I think if you just, and I'm not down on mobile phones, but if you spend your entire life encased in that world where you're just looking at other people's lives and comparing yourself, then you're not really looking up and out and maybe seeing what you've got in your life. So you've got a beautiful kitchen. It doesn't mean that everything in your life is perfect.
Yep.
Because you've got a lovely kitchen. But there's almost a conflation of things, isn't there? That because you've got a lovely kitchen and you're in a lovely setting, therefore everything is perfect in your life. And people get eaten up about that and think my life isn't perfect.
Yeah.
But these are just things.
And perfect's different to different people.
Yeah.
And it's what is perfection. So, that whole thing of what is it I want to be, and this is where this whole thing started from. When we're children, we believe, you got your cereal box family. We spoke about it last week with 2 of my really good friends. Cereal box family, living in suburbia, that's perfect to me. And then actually we realised that wasn't perfect to us. And I'd rather be in a little pokey cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere. That's my happy place. And it is, but that can change as well. So you're speaking with your friends last night and saying about friends not being friends anymore. And it's about changing, and as people, we change and adapt to life and we grow. And we will grow apart from people, and that's okay. There's no offence with that. But then you can grow into new friendship groups. Like, obviously we've connected through work, but actually, talking like this and the fact we're not afraid of change, and we do put ourselves out there more than most will, which doesn't come naturally to either of us.
No.
But we've done it through the need to change and the need to grow. A bit like a plant, really, hey? We search the water, and where that water is running deep, nice and clear for us, we'll go to it.
Yeah.
And it's what I find, and I have found, is a lot of people won't go to the water because they're so scared of the bridge, or they're so scared of what they might come across on the journey to the water.
Yeah.
And actually, what happens if the water's dried up?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know unless you go.
No, and I think sometimes there's something really key for me about identifying the thing that scares you most. And I know for a lot of my life, and it's interesting when I reflect on it now, the thing that most scared me was my dad dying, because he was my absolute hero. And I used to say to myself, I'll never survive that. I would never be able to get through that. That would be the absolute worst thing that could happen. And, I'm 13 years post that happening. And that was a real catalyst for change for me about how do I now embrace life? Because it was almost like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And that, that's a very subjective thing about the worst thing that can happen to you. But that was the worst thing that could happen to me. and I survived it. So almost now I thought my chance was to live life and not always be constantly fearful of trying something different, of going to where the water is. Because actually go and see. And if you go and you don't like it, then you just walk away and you go somewhere else.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's things, the book, you know, The Panda and the Dragon?
Yeah.
And just little things on there. We always strive for the destination, I need to be married, I need to have children, I need to have this house, I need to, you know, that again, we strive for an end goal. Everyone starts a race to get to the end, right? But actually, it's about enjoying the journey and thinking about who you take on that journey with you to give you that enrichment and that quality. And actually, it's not then about the destination because you're in there now, and like you're saying, look around you. What do you have around you? What brings you quality in your life? And if it doesn't, then change your direction. Which then leads me on to, very nicely, now. So tell me about now, and then we will go back a little bit because there's a big chunk and chapter in between that I think for you to do what you did for such a long time, to work your way up from being a social worker to the position that you held within a very large council, the challenges, the tribulations. I mean, you said there the fact that you were the only girl in your street and you were out with all the boys, and then instantly I'm thinking, well, there you go, that's why you became, you know, in the position that you led, you know, and went into, what was your position in the end?
Well, bizarrely, and it was a source of amusement, that I ended up as Director of Education, SEND, Early Help, Community Services and Public Health.
So basically every department that's necessary for a large town council, and it is a large town council, it should really be a city, which I no doubt will happen at some point. But that, you know, the fact that you were saying you were the only girl amongst all those boys literally just made me go, makes sense now. Because again, that life journey and how you grow up does lead you to become the person that you are, and does give you the ability and the life skills to be more resilient.
Yeah, definitely.
And how did you find that? So you were obviously social worker, let's start with that because that's just naturally how we're going now. You were a social worker for how many years?
So I've always been a social worker up until 4 months ago when I let my registration lapse. So
that's a momentous occasion in itself.
It was really momentous. So as long as you register and you do all of the post-qualifying training and learning and development, you remain on the register.
Yep.
So I was on the social work register, so I was still officially a social worker. And then when I made some changes at work, my registration came up for renewal. And I thought, this is the time. I'm not practicing anymore. I can't demonstrate that I am acting as a social worker. So it's time to let my registration lapse. And that's been quite major in terms of my identity, about who I am as a person. But it was a really conscious decision that I made, and I still think the right decision. But yeah, quite significant when you get the email saying you are no longer a registered social worker.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did for 30 years.
And especially in child trafficking. So were there any situations that you were in, or any particular cases that you worked on that have fed into changing your life? Because that's a massive area to be focused on.
I think all fairly major. So most of my career I've worked with children who've been sexually abused. So I've done major investigations into schools. I was coming back from somewhere. I'd been up to Sunderland. My best friend lives in Sunderland. I was coming back, and there was a diversion, and it took me over Barton Bridge near the Trafford Centre. And I had a really strong memory of a young boy who we'd had to remove from his parents. And it was quite late in the day, and we couldn't find a placement anywhere for him. And we managed to find an auntie who lived the other side of Manchester, and taking him in my car over Barton Bridge to go and find this auntie for him to stay with, and just this child kind of traumatised in the back of my car, just sat silently in the back of my car, and I thought, you know, he doesn't know who I am, and he's trusting me that I'm taking him somewhere and that I've made the right decision. And I think things like that just teach you about communication and how you interact and work with other people. And I'm very, I think, attuned to people's emotions and non-verbal cues and people's body language, because I spent a lot of time with children where you would watch their interaction with people who you had a sense were probably not safe adults around them, and you were trying to work out how you could approach that with a child and get information from them that we needed to make decisions. Because I think there's still a misperception by the public that social workers can just remove children.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, there has to be, you know, a lot of evidence that shows that child's in a situation that's causing them harm. So each child that I've met, and I used to tell a story of a child called Sophie, and she always said that I could use her name. And when I first met her, and she'd been sexually abused by her dad, she talked about having 50 rocks in her tummy that were weighing her down, 50 worry rocks. And we did quite a lot of therapeutic work together. And at the end, I remember saying to her, because we always did like a little review, you know, how are you now? And she said, oh, I've only got 5 rocks in my tummy. And I remember saying to her, you know, that's great. And there was a little voice in my brain going, well, why have you still got 5? You know, you do that kind of perfectionist. I'm a people pleaser and I've got to be perfect driver. Why have you still got 5? Like, why haven't I managed to get rid of the 5? And I remember saying to her, is there anything that I can do about those 5? And she was 9. And she said, no, everybody always has some worry rocks, and that's okay.
Oh, don't.
And she kind of gave me permission that I didn't have to save her and make everything okay.
Yeah, it wasn't your job.
But part of that resilience is we'll always have, you know, little worries in our tummy, but that's kind of okay.
Yeah.
But most of them had gone away.
Yeah.
And she was a massive learning lesson for me, really, about
Well, how many
that.
rocks do you have in your tummy? Because that, to do the job that you did for such a long time, to save the children that you did, and not save some as well, because again, there's no such thing as perfection. We both know that.
Yeah.
But then again, that carries heavier weight for us as self-perfectionists, as self-critical analysts, and my hardest on myself and all that jazz. What worry rocks have you taken away from your social care? I'm not talking about later life, because there's a whole new worry rock situation going on there. But actually from those early days as a social worker, for all those years, all those children, there must be something that remains, right?
Do you know, one of the strangest things is you remember, there are some children that you remember, and I will always remember their name. And when friends have babies or family and they pick a name and your stomach goes,
Yeah.
you know, I remember that
Post-traumatic.
that child,
Yeah.
and I remember what that child went through.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that they are still there.
The worry rock's there, you just learn to carry the weight.
And I sometimes wonder, and there was a child who whose parents lived near Saddleworth Moors, and that child had her horrendous life. And whenever I travel over Saddleworth Moor, I always think of him, and I always do. How old would he be now? How did his life turn out?
Yeah.
And so they're the kind of the children and the worry rocks, I suppose, I carry with me, just what happened to those children. But the child that I talked to you about, who I took over Barton Bridge, I had the joy of removing him and placing him somewhere safe, and then finding him adoptive parents.
Oh, lovely.
And when I asked him what he wanted most out of a new mummy and daddy, he wanted a mummy who was pretty and could cook.
Oh.
And he wanted a daddy who had a nice car.
Okay.
And a couple happened to come forward, and they lived in a lovely little cottage. And the day I first went to see them to do their assessment, and I pulled up outside the house, Dad had a Ferrari on the drive.
Oh my gosh. So it's like literally...
And that's where he went.
Oh my! Have you kept in contact? Do you know?
I
Are
did
you allowed
up
to?
until a point.
Yeah.
They can make a choice, and they used to just let me know how he was. But a really successful placement. So as far as I know, he's still really happy.
Yeah, and you hope that the happy
Yeah.
years can then repair
Yes.
the negative, and like you said, so you learn to carry the weight, but actually you're able to focus on other things instead.
And you've got to hope that, haven't you, in terms of that resilience, that people will have difficult things happen in their life, but then positive things happen which start to counteract that.
Well, we said it before, and it is unfortunately, there are some special people out there. I mean, Joe Biden, politically aligned or not, that's the word I'm looking for. You know, he has had a really difficult life in the sense of if you actually read his backstory. And that has led him to be able to make the decisions that he's made, and some people then find faith to help with that. You know, people find their way of surviving, and I think that, you know, coping with those worry rocks, which is really interesting. That then leads me on to, after you were being a social worker, what led you then to come out of that? Because obviously that's a really active role. That is a role where you've got to be a special person, hence why increasingly more so the likes of teachers, the likes of social workers, the likes of these staple people within our society, nurses, doctors that we rely on, finding people who can sustain that role. I think people go in with good intentions, but then because of especially social workers, the extra baggage and responsibility that comes with it, they then fall out of love with it, maybe for their own personal reasons, and they then go on to something else. And it's finding those special people. And then what made you then move from that into the management side of things? Why management?
I got asked bizarrely, and I'd never thought I wanted to be a manager.
It's a bit like the editor of the magazine.
Yeah. I moved. I'd done what we used to call kind of front end social work, which is, I suppose, at the hardest end in some respects of social work, making those very difficult decisions about children's lives. And I decided I wanted a period of time to do more preventative work, to do more kind of therapeutic work with children. Still in a sexual abuse project.
Sorry, the rendering.
And I moved to a joint project that was funded by a charitable organisation and the local authority. And
I know, so just to add to the distractions, it's still
just
a
to
building
add to the distractions, we're being rendered.
I know we're having a real serious conversation about being a social worker, and then just sort of got drilling.
Well,
on
that's
in the
life, though,
background.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Life comes along and
This
throws
is it,
you a
yeah.
curveball.
Welcome to the Hollows.
And I started on day one at this new project where I was starting as the deputy.
Yeah.
And the CEO of the organisation was there on day one, and he said, "I've got something to tell you. The manager has phoned me up this morning and said she doesn't think she can do it. So you're now the interim manager."
Okay, just thrown into it.
So I almost didn't get a choice.
Yeah.
And I think once you've done an interim role, if you like it, that you then almost don't want to let someone else take it. So I then became the manager. And I think once you're in management and leadership, you almost continue to follow that path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's harder, and I think as well because you become part of like the overarching view rather than the ground floor, and you can't do both. It's impossible to do both, and it's that well, as soon as you come to this higher level, and like you said, you then think, right, okay, we're reactive right now, we need to be more preventative, and then you start thinking about that bigger picture. Let's put some more resources down this end. Okay, so was there a project that you were ever part of that you felt, yes, that was a pinnacle point in your career where you thought, we've done something there and I'm proud of what we've done? Knowing that you are a perfectionist, was there anywhere that came close to that?
I think lots of things. I think one of the things I probably really enjoyed doing was after the bomb in Warrington.
Yeah.
When the two young boys were killed. their parents developed something called the Tim Parry Jonathan Ball Young People Centre.
Yeah.
And I became the manager.
Oh, wow.
And I was involved from kind of early planning stages in terms of designing the building to opening it. And I think welcoming young people into that building, which was really quite revolutionary for its time. There was something about how young people could just come and be in a place and be able to talk to people about things that were bothering them.
Yeah.
And have a range of almost social work, youth work services that complemented each other.
Integrated services, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was really quite amazing. I think the impact, and we brought together 3 different organisations. So a private organisation, which was the parents of the boys who were doing a lot of work around terrorism and fighting some of those messages. A youth service, which was a very pure youth service, and then a kind of integration of a youth and social care service was really quite unusual to bring different professions together.
Because everyone's so used to, and I mean, in those days, I suppose it wasn't really an email thing, it was very fresh. So it would have been telephone calls and actually those communications between services we've spoke about before, because when we first met, I was on about my little chickens and having this farm centre where it actually focuses on child's mental health and well-being, but actually why is it just going to stop it, young children or older children and those that actually maybe need it a little bit to those that need it full time. And what I love about you is you aren't afraid to mix it up.
No.
You're not afraid to go with the status quo, which we see so much, especially in any sort of council-run services, schools. You have so many people who are so ingrained in that this is how it's done, this is how it must continue. And I think where we are very similar is, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to carry on. If my journey, or this journey... Otis, on your bed!
He's contributing.
This is the problem when you've got workers at the house. Good boy, come on. Do you want some bacon? I thought you'd come in. Here, have some bacon. Good boy. A steak. Leave your steak. Sit. Nice. So if you're on that journey and you see that actually, you've got a flat tyre, you're not going to carry on going on that journey. You're going to actually go back, find the garage, get the tyre repaired. And then if, there's a pothole down that route that caused the flat tyre, why would you then go back down that route? And it's about changing things up and making things work, and especially when you're dealing with young people.
Yeah. My life has never been linear. And I like that. And as a relatively new social worker, one of my managers said to me, "You're very maverick."
Okay.
Now, I took that as a positive. And I think there is an element of me that probably doesn't like life to be easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will find the hardest way.
Like a challenge.
To do something. Because I think I probably get bored easily. But there is something about, I agree that if you see that something is not working, why would you just carry on? For me, why would you just carry on doing it?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
No.
And I think that's where things become broken, and NHS and different things, and people are so afraid of changing it up, which then kind of leads me on to, you went into this management role, obviously then you became this absolute superhuman in charge of all these people and doing what you did. And then all of a sudden we met one day and you said, "I've left."
Yeah.
Now, how much you want to disclose of that is entirely up to you, but you left and you're now on this whole new journey, and you need to fill me in. So what was it, say as much as you want in regards to kind of the triggers, the change, and then where you're at now, because that really excites me, and how you want to feed into people now.
I think I got to a point where I realised that where I was working wasn't serving me well, and I didn't want to be there, and I took the opportunity to ask for voluntary redundancy, which is probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
Because I've always worked.
But you're in a council. It's it's guaranteed employment for future.
Yeah, and to say I don't want to have a job, and in terms of my personal circumstances, I live on my own, so I'm responsible for all of the bills.
Yeah.
And I bought a house, so I have a mortgage. And if you kind of stacked up all those sides of the equation, people would possibly have said to me, and some did, you should stay in a job that pays well, where you're probably going to keep that job and you could probably progress. And why would you create some money worries for yourself, or potential money worries? And there is a bit about, I'd reached an age where I wanted to nourish my soul, and the process of exiting the organisation wasn't easy, and I wasn't given the opportunity to say goodbye to people, which was really difficult. Yeah. Not having an ending to a very long career.
Not being allowed that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually put on gardening leave, which in hindsight was a great period of time.
Yeah.
A period of time of reflection for me. And my driver had been, over lockdown, I did my coaching masters. And I loved it. And I wanted to take that into my organisation to create that culture of curious conversations and learning, and self-development and, transformational change, and how can we support people? Because I think the cost of living crisis, and that always feels a bit pat to call it a cost of living crisis, but some people are having really difficult, challenging times, and you've alluded to kind of the changes in the world, and they cause people a lot of anxiety.
And then it's also that as well, I find we are facing high costs, but then it's like I say, interviews, we had 20 interviews booked in last week, nobody turned in. So I'm actually relying on prisoners at the moment.
Right.
Ex-prisoners in the sense of probationers, who desperately wanted to get back into work, get their regimentation back, to actually fulfil roles that are actually paying £26,000 a year. And so I what baffles me, there's the whole kind of a cultural situation there as well, which we'll go into in a minute, so go on, carry on.
Yeah, so I wanted to take a kind of a model into work, and I'm not sure that the organisation was hugely receptive to that. And I just thought, this is something I want to do, and it feels a real calling. So over that period when I was on gardening leave, I just started to do some thinking about, what does coaching mean to me?
Yeah.
And who my audience might be. And I think that there's an importance in doing what you know and what you understand. And then when I officially finished at the end of December, so that was the kind of finish of my professional career, I started to reach out to networks, and that took some courage from me, because I'm not very good at asking for help. Because I've always been quite self-reliant, I'm not very good at reaching out and asking for help.
You need directions to the water.
I did. And some really gorgeous women who had worked with previously, and they just happened to be women, gave me opportunities. So I describe myself now probably as a personal and executive coach. I work predominantly at the minute with women, though I have a growing cohort of men.
Which is interesting again.
Which is interesting, and it's been a learning point for me about why did I automatically just pigeonhole myself, I suppose, that I wanted to work with women. And I guess the shorthand of who I said I was I wanted to work with women who were probably at a senior position in an organisation, who felt burnt out, lost.
What, like you were?
Like me.
I was back, not in a senior position, but when I was teaching, just felt.
But then I challenged myself about what does a senior position mean? Because actually,
Responsibility.
you know, what does it mean? It's just having some level of responsibility. And I was also really fascinated on the impact of perimenopause and menopause on women in the workplace. So I know I've always been quite a confident person in work. I'm two quite different personas. Outside of work, I'm quite introverted and shy. In work, I kind of take anything on and do anything.
Do you think it's because you exhaust yourself, though?
Very possibly, yeah.
And in feeding other people, that you then, when it comes to yourself, you just need that time then to just recharge.
Yeah, often by Friday nights I was knackered.
Yeah.
And I'd nothing left to
Friday
give.
night, what's that?
To anyone else.
Weekend, what's that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you just almost survive the weekend, don't you?
You just eat, but if you come off the treadmill,
Yes.
it's hard to get back on it.
Yes.
So we had this conversation. Do you remember where you said you Sunday nights you used to tick off your email box, so then you knew Monday morning you go in and you're not going to be faced with this barrage of emails.
And that feeling would start on a Sunday afternoon of it's Monday again. And there was an element of me wanted to let go of that, because the narrative, as I was finishing work, the narrative I'd started in my head was I would work every evening, and I would work every evening till about 10, half 10. And then it was okay to log off. I would be logged on again the next morning, at the latest by 7, and I'd work again. And I would let myself have Saturday off, and then I would work all day Sunday.
This is a huge sacrifice within. So we spoke about this last week, actually, because one of my good friends, her husband is a secondary headmaster.
Right.
But one of his schools that he was sent into reform was all the way from nursery all the way through to college. Massive, with a DP. It's a designated provision for anyone who doesn't know. For children who have got identified as a need, but maybe mainstream provision isn't quite for them, so it gives them a little outlet, doesn't it? Anyway, we were saying how the personal sacrifice. So for their personal sacrifice, Wendy takes on that role, because they did have children, and they do have children. They've got 2 girls, and so she has administration roles, but again, she knows her role is to be the home carer, home giver. Now, you obviously said yourself you'd not got a partner, you've never married.
No.
Never married. And then I'd asked last time I actually saw you, I was like, did you ever want children? Because obviously you don't have children. What personal sacrifices have you made because of the role you've taken on? Now, I know you won't see them as personal sacrifices necessarily, because you're all about other people and actually taking from yourself to put into others. So what, over the years, have there been personal sacrifices, or would you have changed it?
I don't think I would have changed things. I think I've probably been difficult to live with at times.
Yeah.
Because
my husband would agree with that with me, 100%.
Because I give such a lot to work. So I think when I did live with someone, I think he found that very difficult, because by Friday evening when I walked through the door, I think he would probably said a kind of a husk of a person. It was just like, you know, I've got no energy. I just want some food.
And to recharge.
Yeah, and I don't want to go out tonight, and I don't really want to see anyone, and I haven't really got. I remember I used to say things like, "I've got no headspace to talk.
Yeah.
I just want to watch something on the TV," and that's not great for someone else who has a more balanced approach to work. That they come home and go, great, it's the weekend, let's spend some time and do
What
something.
job did they do?
He worked as a youth worker.
Okay. So still a demanding role, but not...
Yeah, but it was much more balanced in terms of time frames.
Yeah.
And because he was working with young people, once that finished, it finished.
Yes.
Whereas I would spend my day in meetings a lot of the time, and then you would come home and do the dreaded emails, and you know that. You then start going, all right, I'll have to see what I've missed.
Yeah. So then you have to follow up from the meetings. So you have a meeting, then you have to follow up from the meeting, review all that, take the notes on that, reread those notes, and then feed through to whatever action plan was being developed. But then in the meantime, you've got a team of however many, and yours is far bigger than I've ever had to deal with. Well, they go, oh, we've had this issue, we've had that issue, because there's always issues, right? You don't often hear the good, it's often the bad.
Yeah, but it's interesting sacrifice, isn't it? Because I coached a woman, head teacher recently, very senior in an organisation, and her opening lines to me were, I don't think I can do this job anymore.
Yep.
I don't think I'm the person for the job. I probably just need to leave. I'm not good enough. And as we started to talk, what transpired is the year before, her husband had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he'd had a heart attack at home, and her daughter had found him and had started to administer CPR.
Wow.
And the head teacher I was coaching had to continue to go to work to maintain the family and maintain their finances. But every day she went to work, she felt guilty, as though she was leaving him. And she was also terrified that he was going to have another heart attack.
Yeah.
And it's how you balance all of that. So holding up a really senior job, responsible for a large school with a SEND population,
right,
and very high pupil premium population.
Yeah.
But half of their brain at home is going, when I go home tonight and I open the front door, will he still be alive?
Yeah.
And what's the impact being on my daughter?
Yes.
Finding
Post-traumatic
her
stress
dad.
for everyone.
But feeling that she couldn't tell anybody all of those things, people would think she wasn't up to doing her job.
And she's meant to be the pillar. She's the strong one.
Absolutely.
And I think as well, is there the fact that it's okay, historically, men had the higher power roles, men had all the, they were the business and the money earners, etc., breadwinners of the family. Have we as women, if we've been, over the years, have we underestimated that role? Or is there the fact that we are women, do we take things more personally? The males, obviously, you've started coaching some males recently, which shows that there are males out there who do feel the impact, where they do want to reach out to a coach to help them realign.
Yeah, and the learning point for me has been, I probably thought, and I don't know where this came from, that I wouldn't be able to coach men. And coaching for me is just about creating a space where people can talk.
Yep.
And can talk safely without fear of judgment. And the themes from the women I've coached would be themes that we would recognise around imposter feelings. Yep. And am I good enough? How do I balance work and home? Am I doing a good enough job? What age will I get to where I might be able to make some choices about not working at the level I'm working? And actually the men I've coached have all the same issues.
Yeah.
They're all the same themes. And the biggest learning point for me probably has been that we're all just human beings and we all deal with the same issues, and we might express them slightly differently. And that sometimes, again, this is a bit of a generalisation, but sometimes women are given more permission to express some vulnerabilities, and there are still some men that think they can't do that, or there are still some people that judge men if they do that. But actually, human beings are generally struggling with a very similar set of themes. And, a lot of us have that kind of people pleaser driver, that perfectionist driver. Yep. I want people to like me. People want to feel psychologically safe in their workplace particularly. And if that's not there, then I don't believe that you can get the best out of people. And so talking to people to me is just hugely humbling and rewarding, because it's like holding up a mirror to yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of come out of this, and it's interesting because I've never had any sort of coaching. My brother uses it a lot. He's only 24. I think 24. Yeah, 24. And he's very much into coaching, and I think as well it's interesting that the whole generation, his generation that are coming up through now, he's went to Loughborough, but he's going through that time now where of the age where the career, what do I do, where do I go? And so he's actually tapping into coaching to help you, because it's a form of counselling effectively, isn't it? Self-reflection that often we don't allow ourselves the time to have, but also it's people throwing things back at us. Like we were saying before about mum and what you went through as a child with poor mum. And we go, well, actually, did that feed into that? Oh, the fact that you had lots of boys as friends and you were the only girl. Do you think that then led into that? And he kind of then goes, oh, actually, yeah, maybe it did. But yeah, that's where coaching, I mean, I've never accessed it. But as you know, I'm a very good talker. Often too much, which I was always told to calm down. My first teaching interview I had this wonderful lady, who you will know, who was my mentor at this school. I did three placements in total, 2 of which were with this one school. And she was fabulous. And when I got my first teaching interview, she said, right, this particular head teacher, you just need to just calm down. We love you, we know what you're capable of, we love your personality, but I know this particular head teacher might find that a little bit much. So just calm down. Whereas now, you know, kind of being in the role reverse and interviewing, and when they turn in, interviewing people, the enthusiasm's the thing that I look for, because I think you can coach pretty much everything else, you can train everything else. But actually somebody who has that get up and go is something that we look for. Which then leads me on to not being a natural person to put yourself out there. You did a whole talk that I couldn't come to in the end.
Yeah.
How was that? Did it go well? Not so well? Have you got something else planned?
It did go well. It was really funny. So the talk was very much about the menopause and how it impacts on women. And I guess some of the remedies that I've tried. So I'm not a medical practitioner, but just some of the things that I've tried. And it was part of a business women's networking event. Yeah. And the woman who'd asked me to speak said there's normally about 10 women turn up, and we meet in this lovely kind of pub cocktail bar. And it was over a lunchtime, and I thought that's okay, you know, that's a nice number. And turned up early to be ready, and she said, oh, we've had quite a bit of interest. So there was 32 people turn up. And as they kept turning up, I was thinking, oh my God. And she did a little introduction to me. And
Did you use the strap line?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Paula Worthington, know your worth. Have you ever used that since?
I have. I have, but I don't think I did then, actually.
Why, because is it a bit too American?
No, I don't know why I didn't. Because you gave me that, and it's lovely. Because it's part of it's going to go on my website. So yeah, I don't know why I did.
It is about that, isn't it? It's
Yes.
about, like, you, because I said that to you when you were going through this transition. I was like, your name's made for it.
Yeah.
Paula Worthington, know your worth. It's about us, females, males, whatever, actually attributing some pride to ourselves on that journey and going, actually, I've accomplished something. Look at what I've done. Look at the change, the changes I've made to other people, the impacts I've had. And now I can feed forward on the success of what I've built.
Yeah. So no, it went very well.
Yeah.
The owner of the bar was a guy who was behind the bar who was available to serve
he found that brilliantly
coffees.
interesting. So
I started off. When I finished the talk, they laughed because they said the point at which I talked about dry vagina and itchy nipples,
yes.
He got up and he went in the back.
Did he?
That was probably a bit too much for him. But you know what? It was just fascinating to say things about sleep, and some of the challenges around sleep, some stuff around loss of libido, but also women who'd been to their GP who'd said, no, I'm not prescribing HRT, you don't need it.
Yes.
And just talking to people about some of the questions you can go back and some of the challenges you can go back, and women who didn't know about the HRT prepayment certificate.
Yep.
So you can get your HRT paid for the year for a small amount. I'd actually, over lockdown, paid for private consultations, which was horrendously expensive, but which just got me through those early days. And I've always been quite lucky, touch wood. I've never had hot flushes, but I developed a level of anxiety that I'd never had. And I think the hardest thing for me was my body changed completely. I discovered this whole new body shape that I didn't like. And just felt quite alien to me, and it didn't matter what I did, what I ate, it wouldn't change. And that was just a particular issue for me. And there was loads of questions, and it was really great just to sit with a group of women who spoke to each other. And one of the greatest takeaways was I recommend, it's been very successful for me, is spray magnesium.
Okay.
And if you spray it on your legs and the bottom of your feet at night, it really helps people sleep.
So where did you find that out from?
Somebody told me, a nurse practitioner in work, because I set up a menopause support group in work.
Okay.
And a nurse practitioner came and she told us. And it was just an easy purchase off Amazon.
Yeah.
And it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
Because women are often really depleted in magnesium, particularly during the menopause and perimenopause when your hormones are depleted.
Well, this is, so obviously I'm not at that point yet. I know the Botox is good, but I'm 36, so I'm hoping I've got a few years left yet. But even at my age, so talking about those things that you're saying, like loss of libido, so stress for me is a big one, which then has an impact. And it is, again, that ricochet onto life as a family life, as, you know, kind of yourself, and actually putting back into yourself. So you become exhausted because you're just constantly, you know, dealing with other people and issues that actually that does have an impact on you, that stress. You know, and like your body shape, because I don't have time to go to the gym. I've got the children, I've got, you know, lots of things going on. So you're saying like your body shape changes. And we were saying just from, you know, even having children, not having children, being in a relationship, you're going back, you're exhausted, you're not feeding into the relationship. So actually these issues of menopause, and this is where I find it quite fascinating as well, how it's now become an issue because of menopause. Actually, those issues are relevant for pretty much everybody. Obviously, you've got the hot sweats, you've got the extra things from menopause, but as a female having periods, just before you come on your period, I have horrific night sweats. So my nighttime sleep's not very good. And so actually, the symptoms and the issues of menopause are relevant across the whole sector of females, but then also that, you know, added into that, men do go through cycles as well.
Yeah, but I think what I tried to get my organisation to do was talk about it, and give a space. And I remember having one of our senior leadership team meetings where I put menopause on as a topic.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of squirming, because there was a lot of men on our senior leadership team, and a lot of squirming. And then one of the guys said, "Do you know what, I found this really helpful, because my wife is really menopausal and I genuinely don't know what to do for the best to help her. And I feel like I can't ask her because I feel like I'm drawing attention to it. But actually just being able to ask other people." So there's something about how we equip people with knowledge, isn't there?
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
But also, like you're saying, sharing it and talking about it and going, well, this is what I believe. And then someone else, well, have you thought of it this way? And that's what you're saying, like creating that forum of conversation. And I was just about to say about, you know, male colleagues who do have wives, because you do find that divorce rates and separation rates do tend to happen around that time. And it's so sad when you know that the couple might have gone through their whole lives together, or, you know, had a really strong relationship for a number of years. They may have family, they may not. But then actually then for your colleagues to then take away that extra information, they're going to be a little bit more, not lenient, I don't think lenient is the right word, understanding. Because of the added knowledge.
Compassionate.
Yeah, I understand now. And that's the problem, I think, as well. It's a bit like childbirth.
Yeah.
No one understands it unless you've been through it. Period pain, no one understands it unless you've been through that pain. And then when you can see like the simulators, when the men put them on, they go, oh my gosh, right, I understand now. Yes, now you understand. So no, that's amazing. So you obviously had your talk, and it was all of you together. Obviously he walked out, but did he listen to any of it? I'm just interested in this man behind the bar.
I don't know. I guess he must have stayed for part of it. Perhaps he didn't feel comfortable sitting in a room full of women when body parts were being talked about. But he did come back in part way, so...
He was interested?
Yeah.
Which then leads you on to the fact that you've then got this whole new male dynamic of people who are interested in knowing their worth and interested in this mass conversation.
Yeah.
So since then, you've got another one booked, another talk.
Yes.
When's that?
In 5 weeks.
In 5 weeks. And where is it?
It's in Ormskirk.
In Ormskirk. So if anyone's watching this, they could come along to it.
Yes.
So we can put the link down.
Yeah.
And then you might have more than 35 We have only 5 subscribers so far, so you never know. But I think that it's really important, and I do really want to come and just sit. And actually, for me, it's obviously anything you say is worthy to me. But for me, I actually want to come and watch you in action and be proud of you as, you know, a friend and somebody who definitely looks up to you in what you've achieved, but the fact you've made that change. How have you found it financially though, since you've made the change?
It's funny, money's a real issue for me, and I think because my mum and dad never had a lot of money, and then I lived with a guy for a long time, and not to be critical of him, but he really wasn't very good with money.
Okay.
Has made me very cautious around money.
You're a saver.
Yeah, and I've got a particular money mindset that I've explored because I have my own coach. So when you coach, you have your own coach. And I've explored that quite a lot with my coach, Annie, who's just a gorgeous human being. So I sat with an accountant, which was really difficult and really alien for me, for someone to say, tell me everything that you spend.
Yeah.
And I was doing the whole, I get my nails painted, I won't do it anymore. And I won't get my hair cut. This person saying to me, you can still live your life. But it's just about knowing exactly, because there was a bit of bury the head in the sand for me about not knowing exactly what came in and what was going out.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things I did was really equip myself with the knowledge of exactly what was going to come in,
Yeah.
and exactly what was going to go out,
Yeah.
and make some decisions about that.
So anybody making a change maybe from a career that they're really stable in, that's definitely one of the first things
absolutely,
you'd say.
Absolutely. I don't think you can do the, I'll guess at what I think I spend.
Yeah.
And for me, so one of my most dramatic days was sat with a friend having a glass of wine, and saying to her,
the hollows.
I'll never survive. I'll have to start begging on the streets of Liverpool.
Yeah.
I am prone to the dramatic. And she was like, I don't think you're at that stage.
No,
and,
you never will.
And if you needed to, you could get another job. So it was just putting myself in a position where I felt in control of knowing what would be coming in and what would be going out. How did you know what was
going to come in though? Because you'd not, at this point obviously you'd done the coaching, you kind of put yourself out there, you got the talking. How did you then get that network base to make sure you had enough income coming in?
I still haven't done that.
Okay.
So
that's really interesting. So you knew what was going out,
yes,
but not necessarily what was going to come.
No, and I you know, it's interesting when people ask me questions like, you know, have you got a pipeline? And I go, oh, have I? have I done enough about that? And there was a real learning lesson for me as I went to see a head teacher. So I do a lot of coaching online and I do some face-to-face, and I went to see a head teacher and I was sat with her. And I find it torturous still when people say, what do you charge?
Yes.
There's still a bit of me goes,
yes.
Oh, I don't want to have to say it. And I told her and she went, oh God, that's really cheap. And that was when your phrase came back about know your worth, because I thought, I've pitched myself too low. And I said to her, I did laugh and say, can I go out the room and come back in and do that? And she said no, because she's, you know, quite a hard-nosed head teacher, which is right. You've already told me, she said, but that's not to say that at a point in time you can't say to me that you're increasing your prices.
Yeah.
And that's what I've just done recently and communicated that.
Yeah.
So I have a business account now and I look at it, and a friend said to me the other day, you don't know that that's your money, do you?
No.
No, it still feels like it's someone else's money. And a really lovely friend encouraged me to buy something out of that to celebrate.
Good.
Kind of my first sort of 6 months as trading. So I bought myself a really beautiful mulberry purse.
So obviously doing very well then.
which I loved.
Good, but you have to. So it's about that, you know, saying, this is again another thing. When you're so used to feeding people for such a long time, you have to feed yourself, right?
Yes.
Because even as a parent, as a wife, as a partner, as a lover, just you on your own, you have to feed yourself. Otherwise, what is the point?
Yes.
So things like getting your nails done, if that makes you feel happy, go do it. Your hair, I had a staff member recently who's gone through complete burnout, young sons, works really, really hard, trained on the job, really selfless person where her last penny will go to her children or her friend if they needed it over herself. And so we had a bit of a coaching session where I spoke to her and I said, you need to do something for you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of money now, but that is not to go on anyone else. I don't really care what you spend it on, as long as that is for you.
How lovely.
So we did, and the amount of time she tried to give it me back. And I was like, no, stop. And she did need a bit of a reset, so a bit of time away just to reset, but has come back. And I actually saw her when I went into that particular business the other week, and she's now back. How are you? Completely different person, completely different lady. I've not asked her about the money because that wasn't the point. It was about her focusing on herself for once and actually feeling she had something there that was for her. And she's just a completely different lady, back on it, back in her A game. You know, not quite. There's still some time to go. As with everything, it's a process, it's a journey. But it is about us taking that time for ourselves. So you buying yourself something, you actually knowing that you've built that successful business, you've gone from nothing to having so much. And what I find really interesting is being someone who is careful with money, someone who is a planner. You didn't know your destination. You didn't have a map. You didn't know iconic places on the route to show you that you were on the right route journey.
No.
All you knew is you had yourself. And so you had to find the watering hole yourself.
I had to trust in me. And I've probably done that a lot through my life, but this is the first time really I've jumped, I've walked to the end of the gangplank and jumped off. And thought, let's see where this
You're
goes.
in deep end.
And interesting, this is my money mindness stuff that makes me feel I have to justify this, that I bought the purse in the sale and it's still in the bag.
Because you've not actually used it?
No.
Because you're scared it's going to be taken away, that you're scared you need to take it back. Oh no. Use it.
So I will get to the point where I use it, but...
you have to.
One of the things I say to a lot of the people I coach is just what you've been describing, that we give and we give and we give.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got a really lovely image that I use with people, which is a battery, and say to people, what depletes your battery?
Yeah.
What charges your battery? And often when people draw and fill it out, everything is depleting their battery and very little is putting any charge back into the battery. And when people see a really visual representation of that, it brings people up short and it's quite stark. And it can be something very simple, like going and getting your nails painted.
Yes.
That's just for you. It's a bit of time for you. And as you say, a lot of women in particular will say to me, but I could use that money to do something else for someone else.
Or that's 2 hours that I could actually be answering my emails or doing this. And it's so easy to sacrifice yourself because you're in control of that.
Yeah.
But saying no is what we have to do. And is that now? So now you're obviously out of the council, out of that kind of, that role and that responsibility. Do you shut your laptop before 10 o'clock at night?
Yes.
Do you have more than Saturday to yourself?
Yes. And I have been known sometimes to sit and have my lunch and put the TV on.
Oh, ruining yourself. Bit of loose swimming and rubbish daytime TV.
I'm not quite there yet, but...
More the news.
But just working in a different way. So I've done some evening coaching.
Yeah.
And I've made sure that the next morning I've got something that's in for me.
Okay, so you've got balance.
Yes.
You've found balance. And is that because you've left an institution that had these demands constantly? Or is that because you now value yourself more?
Probably a mix of both, really.
Okay.
I think it's very easy when you work in a large organisation to just get on the treadmill of that organisation. I think that it felt to me in my organisation that there was a lot of there was a lot of presenteeism going on. There was a lot of, is people's green Teams light on?
Yeah.
You know, people always available. There was almost an expectation if someone sent you a message at night through Teams at 8 o'clock that you would be on and you would respond.
Yeah.
And there was some competition about who could almost send the earliest email of a morning.
Oh, yeah, that's not a good workplace.
And I think, you know, I've heard other people say that you're always present and available for work.
Yes.
And what I say to people now is if you're always present and available for work, and you know, most people want to do a good job at work,
yeah,
then what are you giving up? Because if that's getting all of your time, then inevitably something else is losing some of your time.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where a lot of conflict comes for people.
Yeah.
And I remember a colleague saying that they wanted to leave early to go and do something with their child, and you could see the eye rolls. And actually, why shouldn't that be okay, to leave work early to go and do something with your child?
Because they sacrifice being with their child after school, they sacrifice before school, they sacrifice the holidays, giving their child to someone else to care for.
Yeah.
So for them to have that moment to go and be present, to actually feed back into their soul, which then means they can continue to give the level that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think this is where this ethic, so 9 to 5 used to be, you know, standard thing. You couldn't get hold of somebody unless it was office hours or via a fax machine. That was that.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the French have brought it in, haven't they? Mm. So it is now a legal requirement. You have to email between these times and these times. You don't, people need to have a break.
Yeah.
People need to rest.
Yeah.
We are human.
We are.
And it's about people saying no, but then also if you're working in an institution which is a government-run, you know, institution, a local authority, and they're not living by that mantra, along with many other companies out there, when's that going to stop?
Yeah. And I think there is something about how we claim some of that back. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, isn't it, some of the post-COVID speak?
Yes.
That there's lots of references to people now being work shy because they like to have a couple of days at home.
Yeah.
And when I was working, I would also have, you know, a day at home maybe. But again, it brought a really nice balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember once being out in the garden putting out washing, and the phone rang, and it was my boss, and I would guarantee he had like a sixth sense. And I remember saying, "Oh, I'm just outside," and I'm thinking, why am I explaining myself?
Yeah.
I've been online since 7 o'clock in the morning working.
You worked a few hours.
I'm just hanging out some washing. It's hardly the crime of the century.
It allows you to have balance, doesn't it? That's the thing. That is the thing, it's having that balance, isn't it? And being able to feel it's acceptable to have balance. And I think that's the problem about people, like you were saying, when you first went in and you pitched yourself and you actually could have pitched higher. It's about people going, right, okay, for me to give my best, I need X, Y, and Z. So as part of this role, am I able to do this? So we have it with some of our teams where we're able to, and I think this is probably where it becomes a bit difficult because some of our staff aren't able to deliver their job. They have to be on site, but we delivered a 4-day week for our full-time staff members so that then they do get the extra day at home. So there's a few things like that really, where actually as an institution, you know what works for your business, and it's about making sure that you can work with your employees as part of the necessary entity of your business to make it worthwhile for them as well as for you. And that balance is so important, which I believe you've now found.
Yes. And do you know what? I met someone the other day who used to be my personal assistant. So we all had personal assistants that supported us at work, which is a lovely luxury. And I hadn't seen her for probably about 5 months. And she said to me, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel the best I've ever felt in my entire life."
Yeah, free. And the money's coming in because of that.
Yeah.
It shows that it works. You've just got to believe in yourself, and actually that freedom can lead you on to a healthier life, and actually you knowing your worth.
Yes.
Good. Well, I can't wait to come to this new talk. I'm really excited. You've not eaten your toast. I've
I will
scoffed
eat my
half a
toast now.
sandwich. I'll do some more.
No, I'm always happy to eat cold toast. I like cold toast.
Because you're used to it. That's the problem. Know your worth. I can do you some fresh stuff.
No, it's fine.
Do you want another coffee?
Oh, I'd love one, yes,
Right,
thank
I'll
you.
do a coffee. Do you want a water as well?
Yes, that'd be nice, actually,
that's
thank
fine.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Brill. Thank you, Paula. I hope
you.
that wasn't too,
No, it's lovely.
but touched on lightly.
Yes. Yeah.
But I can't wait. This is amazing. When are you doing a book?
We could talk about all sorts, couldn't we?